Uh, Namaste. Greetings to everyone joining us today. It was good to hear my colleague from Singapore and get insights on impact of COVID-19 on the Chinese economy. I will say the situation in India is slightly different, and I will try to share brief insights on the Indian economy recovery through the pandemic and some TRI related facts which will be of interest to many of us here. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah. Numerous factors contribute to India's journey of becoming a favorable business destination. Despite the pandemic, the country has cushioned the impact from the waves of COVID infections. On your screen, key recovery indicators are displayed, which showcase India's economic recovery through the pandemic. In macro terms, the GDP of the country has shown recovery and growth with various estimates expecting a 9.5% growth as compared to the dip of 7.3% in the last year. One of the key economic indices, which is the Purchasing Manager Index, which maps the demand of the Indian customers, has indicated that the country has done significantly better with current PMI of greater than 50. As compared to last year in March 2020, the index has dipped to a low of 20-point mark. With the economic recovery and revival of businesses and people learning the new normal, we witnessed that the tax collections reached an average growth of 6% and a peak tax collection of $19 billion in April 2021. Similarly, on the FDI side, I think the situation has been quite different from the world. As the global FDI fell by over 40% in 2020, India saw a FDI rise of around 10% on year-to-year basis in the last year. These investments are primarily driven by investments in the three sectors, which were digital, services, and electronics. It is expected that India will be a key global destination in the future and will attract over $150 billion of investment by 2026. So in next 3-4 years per se. Government expenditure has been instrumental in the recovery of all the economies. So India was also not something different. The Indian government budgeted 13% higher expenditure for healthcare and infrastructure activities to aid revival of the businesses and decrease pressure on the industry. Further, such indicators demonstrate the recovery and strength of the Indian economy at an overall basis. Can you move to the next slide, please? In this slide, we'll try to share some key reforms which aided in India's recovery and also update on India's vaccination status, which I believe is a big question to the world due to the large Indian population. To start with the reforms, Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative or Self-Reliant India initiative is one of the flagship initiatives by the central government. The initiative aims to promote local manufacturing and develop robust value chain, which could make India self-sufficient in terms of domestic consumption. Several schemes were launched under this flagship initiative, including the one major scheme called Production Linked Incentive, through which the government provided an outlay of $26 billion for 10 key sectors, such as automobile, textile, energy, food processing, electronics, and several others. So it was one of the flagship initiative, and the government is putting emphasis on the local manufacturing in India through this. Next reform was towards boosting the business activity. In view of this, a massive $1.4 trillion was set aside to spend on upgrading the business infrastructure in the country, with the aim that this could further allow business ecosystem to thrive in the country. Government also eased certain regulations to provide support to the industry during the last year. To name few, they roll out the IBC, decriminalization of several provisions under the Companies Act. They are also looking at new unified labor code, just to name few of the regulations which the government is looking at easing. All this have contributed to improving ease of doing business ranking for India in the last few years. During the pandemic, developing connectivity and improving the communication system was of paramount importance. Telecom operators, electronic makers, and government stakeholders designed several blueprints to provide uninterrupted digital services, which could provide considerable ease to more than 1 million businesses in the country. The computer sector alone received an FDI of over $25 billion in the financial year 2021, which clearly highlights the growth and potential in India's digital sector. As the pandemic gripped India during the first wave, from a need assessment, the government identified that the healthcare infrastructure in the country was also in the need of an overhaul. So the union government assigned highest ever budget in the history of parliament to the healthcare sector, showing the country's faith in revamping existing healthcare systems. The country, through investments and several PPPs, ensured that the adequate kits, drugs, and testing facilities were available not only for domestic use, but also for international use. On vaccination front, the number you see on the screen are some 7-8 days old, but can still provide a good insights on the vaccination status in India. As you can see, India has fully vaccinated over 20% of its adult population, and over half the population has got at least one shot of the vaccine. Sorry. Ministry of Health has highlighted the India's strength in its robust vaccination plan, which is aspiring to vaccinate 100% of its working workforce by December 2021. So if the government is able to do well with their plans, we should have all the workforce vaccinated by December 2021. I think that's all for this slide. Let's move to the next slide, and I will brief on provide a brief overview of the TRI landscape in India. One of the major developments in the last few years in the TRI space has been introduction of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which is generally called as IBC, as a sweeping reform, which aim to revolutionize the insolvency ecosystem in India. As per the Economic Survey Report 2020, IBC has significantly improved and streamlined the resolution process in India. On your screen, you will be able to view the number of filings under the IBC. A total of over 4,000 corporate insolvency resolution processes have been initiated under the IBC till March 2021, and nearly 2,700 of them have been closed till date. During financial year 2021, there was a suspension on initiating IBC action in respect of default starting the date 25th March 2020, which was the date when the country actually went into a lockdown. The thought was to safeguard business interest during the pandemic period. The suspension of the code has been lifted, and IBC filings are currently active, and we are seeing that the numbers are slightly starting to ramp up again. The framework's big success during the COVID phase was noted when insolvency issues involving the two large companies, namely Jet Airways and Videocon Industries, were reportedly resolved in June 2021 by the National Company Law Tribunal. Yeah. On the stressed asset side, in terms of NPS, the Indian government has introduced a plethora of initiatives to combat this ever-playing issue of growing NPS. While global NP average is close to 6.2%, India's higher average is clearly visible, and we can see the steep rise in this also. Various reforms have been put in place to reduce the burden on banks. The introduction of backed bank concept has been welcomed, as the country is in need of a significant cleanup in terms of bank loans. While these reforms boost activity in the restructuring space, India continues to be an attractive destination for deals. Let's learn about this in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. The COVID-19 pandemic caused significant uncertainty in 2020, which was further compounded by global trade tensions, regulatory pressures, and geopolitical issues. Despite these challenges, deal activity in 2020 outperformed the previous year. It was evident that the global investors' sentiment in India's ecosystem remains intact. Several large deals were concluded in the edtech, healthcare, and digital sector, with prominent players like Byju's, Paytm, Reliance, etc., in participating in those deals. Newer age companies are leveraging innovative technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, and deep consumer insights to disrupt targeted pockets in various industries such as fintech, e-commerce, education. Several startups have managed to accelerate through their natural growth cycle during the COVID era and have monetized their businesses. This has enabled the country to add 16 new unicorns from the start of the pandemic, which is a very high number during the pandemic year. It is also expected that India will further see significant investments and traction in financial services, electronics, renewable energy, as you can see on the sea, as the country aim to capitalize on the unique growth opportunities in the global market. I think let's move to the next slide. Yeah, a short case study to demonstrate our recent experience of supporting a client in TRI space during the COVID era. As part of the corporate carve-out transaction, a leading PE firm acquired certain logistic and product service assets of a leading global Irish company, which was engaged in business of electronic repair and services. It was a global deal, and a part of the deal also had the India business. As majority of the Indian operations were non-core to the PE firm and not profitable, the acquiring group decided to wind down the India unit. Nextdime was approached to support this winding down transition to enable a smooth downsizing of the operations prior to regulatory liquidation and ensuring full visibility to the global team during the wind down phase. A dedicated team was deployed on site during the initial phase to assess the existing situation, understand the company business operation and financial soundness, and thereafter build a roadmap as well as support and implementation of that roadmap during the operational wind down phase. The project was riddled with various challenges. To name few, they had an adverse cash position. They didn't had a operational transparency because the Indian operation director has resigned. There was ambiguity and they could not rely on the information they were getting from the Indian partners or the Indian employees they had. They had unsettled and unresolved disputes with tax authorities, with customers, with vendors. So it was a big mess which they wanted to clear, and they wanted to do it in a very quick pace, in a quick manner. They also had some 1,000+ employees operating in India at the time when the COVID struck and India went into a lockdown, and they wanted to actually ramp those numbers down also in the COVID year. So these were a few of the challenges which we helped them mitigate. So in order to work on these challenges, we provided a comprehensive project management support on various critical components, which included forming receivables recovery strategy to successfully realize over 80% of the receivables, diligent employee ramp down plan in 9 months from 1,000 workforce to nearly 20, which was done in 9 months. We did the financial cleanup and book reconciliation in group accounts. We advised them on the FEMA compliances. There were huge penalties which could have popped up because of the intercompany receivables which were long outstanding, and India has set on regulatory framework to ensure that those are handled smoothly, and I will say many more. In terms of sheer impact, our team's overall project support provided the much needed transparency, unbiased and thorough view of the business position, and on-ground implementation support of the ramp down of our operations, especially during the COVID era, which was thoroughly appreciated by the global team. Thank you. I think this is all for today. Happy to take questions if any.